guys, it's Sam, and this is my spoiler-free review for the First Sister trilogy by Linden A Lewis. So this is a adult sci-fi space opera trilogy. The first book, called The First Sister, follows our main character, and she is living in a far future where humans have started to colonize more of our galaxy, and so there are people that are from Mars and Earth, called the Gaians, and there are people from Mercury and Venus that are the Akari, and the First Sister is a part of the priesthood of the Gaians. In this case, they are a sisterhood, and they are of women who essentially cannot speak and are just used as sort of like Handmaid's Tale-esque. They are used as people that soldiers can confess to, but that also sleep with. And at the beginning of First Sister, our First Sister is hoping to leave the ship that she is currently on with one of the captains, but he ends up kind of betraying her, and she might lose her rank as First Sister. And as First Sister, she cannot be touched by any other soldiers, and she has a position of power, and so that is now precarious, and she has to try to kind of win that power back with the new captain, Saito Ren. And there's something happening with Saito Ren that some of the people in power in the sisterhood are telling her to spy on her, the captain, but then she realizes that there's more going on with this captain. Our other main character we follow is Leto, and he is a part of that Akari group of people. And before this book starts, he is defeated in battle by none other than Saito Ren, the captain of the ship with the First Sister. And in that, he lost his partner, because Akari have duelists, so they have like a two-person pairs, and they are very highly tied to each other, and he lost his partner Hiro, and he finds out that Hiro is not only still alive, but also a traitor to the Akari cause, and he wants to find out what happened to Hiro, and everything goes from there. So those two stories are how this series starts. So first off, I'm going to talk about the world building in this series. In the first book, you are just seeing the world through the lens of these two characters, and you're realizing that they don't know quite as much as there is actually going on. As the books go on, we expand way more. So in the second book, I think we're following like 4 POVs, I want to say at least 4 POVs, significantly larger. The first book's pretty short. And we discover like more about what's going on with the politics of both the Akari and the Gaians, what's happening in the sisterhood, the political structure, more so of the sisterhood and all those inner workings, and also that there are like AI synthetics happening as well. And then in the final book, we get even more of that. So we get, in addition to the Gaians and the Akari, there are people called Asters. They play a pretty big part of the rest of the story too. And they are basically belters. They live in the asteroid belt. So they have like very different bodies, and they are definitely a marginalized group in society. So not only do you have these two major forces battling each other, but then everyone is kind of oppressing the Asters. And so as the story goes on, you also get information from like their parts of the world and things, and like their political system. So this is a very like heavily space opera, political machinations, all of these like structures and things, and like structures of oppression. You get all of that, and I think the world building is the strongest part of this series. If you like a Red Rising, not so much the first book, but later books in the series, or like The Expanse, I think this is sort of similar to some of those things. If you like just what I talked about politically, I feel like it's very inspired by The Expanse. I would be super surprised if it wasn't, just with the whole like belters versus everyone else, whatever. So that structure is interesting. The way that the duelists, the Akari people, the differences that they have as far as the use of tech. There's different kinds of like tech and like neural implants that help like their fighting ability, but also the way that the Gaians view that. Gaians' different like military prowess and things, the different ships, all of that very fun sci-fi stuff is all present within this world, and all of that. Character-wise, again, I think the first book is more heavily tuned into the characters. I think as the story goes on, the characters are still really good, but we get so many. Like by the final book, I think we have like 5 or more POVs. Wait, like 6? There's so many. And I just think we didn't quite have enough time to expand out as much as we did. This would have been a really good quartet for that reason. But I do really like all of our characters. And I found myself, besides one who, it makes sense why she appears in the second book. So there's a character POV that we get in the second book that I thought wasn't quite as needed, but then she is more needed in the third book, so it kind of makes sense. But you have all of these different players in different parts of this world, and you kind of do need to follow all of them. So I liked all of them, what all of them bring, the different things that they are worried about, and their different relations with each other. All that was really good. These books are also really queer, so we have multiple characters who are like gender queer, gender non-conforming. We have multiple, especially sapphic characters, queerness. There's some implied polyamory, or like polyamory possibilities in here as well. So the world in general is just like, especially the world of the sisterhood, very sapphic coded and sapphic actually. And yeah, like all of those like explorations are present within all of the political machination stuff as well. Lastly, we talk about the plot. I think the plot, especially the first book, was very tight and like well done. It starts to fall apart a little bit as the series goes on, just because of the amount of characters and things, but ultimately I still think it was really good. I will say the final book, you have so many really good antagonists in this series, and the final book almost didn't have enough time to tie all of those antagonist plot lines up in a way that was super satisfying, because you basically had a whole finale of like these antagonists being dealt with in some way that it felt just very boom, boom, boom in a lot of ways, and I think it would have been good to have a little bit more time to spread some of those out and spread some of those threats out, because a lot of these antagonists were really good and very threatening, and by the end you're kind of like, wait, how do they get defeated or dealt with or whatever in like such a fast way? But overall, like the plot and like the unraveling of the mystery and the unraveling of all the political machination stuff, all that was very satisfying. And there is actual like threat to all of these characters. Like I never felt like any of the characters had plot armor, and I appreciate that as well. Like there are like actual loss and suffering and things in here too, which I think you have to have for books of this magnitude of trying to like overcome oppressive systems. You have to have some stakes. So overall, I think I gave First Sister 4-ish stars. I want to say I gave almost all of them 4 stars. I think First Sister was like 4.5. I think Second Rebel was around like 4.25, and then The Last Hero was like 4, maybe 3.75, just because it got a little muddled in there, but ultimately still really good. I think overall, a 4-star series, especially if you like space opera, I would definitely recommend these. Comment below and let me know what you thought of the First Sister trilogy. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see all of you guys soon. Bye.